Okay, we're live on YouTube. You can take it away, David.
Morning to everybody. Happy Monday morning. Oh, no, that's a lie. Happy Tuesday morning. That's a bad start. Welcome to another get-together with the Hyperledger Media and Entertainment Special Interest Group. For those of you who are new to us, we're, as the name pretty much explains, we're a small group of dedicated individuals interested specifically in how Hyperledger can be applied to elements of media and entertainment, but writ large, so including everything, let's say, all the way to journalism, for example, is something that's attracted the opinion of the interest of quite a few members. So if you have any ideas for projects or for collaborations, or if you'd like to give a presentation to us that you think might be of benefit to that broad range of applications, we'd certainly be very interested to hear from you. So you can obviously find us all with ease through the Hyperledger home site, or you can just look me up. My name is right there on Zoom. Just Google my name together with UCLA, and various email opportunities will pop up. Today, we are, I think, particularly lucky to have with us Mr. Tong Li from IBM, whose tool, Minifabric, is something that I discovered quite some while ago, but continue to be enthused about and impressed by, for a very simple reason. Hyperledger, in fact, not only Hyperledger, but sort of related open source engineering or programming / development opportunities very often have a high bar of or a low gateway of entry, depending on whichever metaphor you prefer, because they're just so damn difficult. And anything that makes the creation and management of networks easier is something that is going to make our lives simpler. It'll make the popularity and applicability of tools like Hyperledger much more impactful. And for those of us like myself who are involved in teaching, it's going to make it a lot more appealing to students as well. So if you haven't had an opportunity to play around with Minifabric, or you may have seen just one or two of Mr. Li's videos or some of his presentations, I think you'll be really impressed by how useful and how simple this tool is. So on that very promising note, I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Li, and don't forget to be in touch with us either through Hyperledger. We are welcoming any questions you might have during or after the presentation, both here in the chat on Zoom, but also in the comments on YouTube, because we're live streaming there. So either is wonderful, and we'll aggregate them at the end and offer the questions to our guests. But in the meantime, thank you very much, Tong, for coming, and over to you.
Thank you, David. Thanks very much for that introduction. So as David has just said, Minifabric was created to ease the burden on the developers, regardless you develop blockchain applications or you actually developing Hyperledger Fabric, to ease the burden on you to create a Fabric network. So we also promote the right way to use the Fabric in the easy way. So this is the goal for Minifabric. And this is the reason why we created Minifabric. So Minifabric actually is a tool to help you to do many things. So I have these 5 basically categories that we Minifabric support. We will not go into the details on all of them because like number 4 and 5 are more advanced features. But we do have documents that you can look into if you're interested. So the very first one is help you to easily stand up a Fabric network. Get everything ready and try different versions of Fabric is not a small task without right tool, right? So we create this and allow you to do that very easily. You can simply just add use a different parameter to set up different versions of Fabric network. and you'll be able to create channels, manipulate channels, and add peers into those channels that you have. Minifabric also allow you to inspect those channels and see the channel configuration, which if you know Fabric, the channel configurator is a huge YAML file, and it's very hard to grasp what actually in it. If you want to make some changes, and you have to look for the needles in the ocean, and it's extremely difficult. But Minifabric actually allow you to easily to update the channel. And they also allow you to install chaincode and invoke chaincode, do some admin tasks, for example, approve, right? Commit, initialize. Those are very typical chaincode related operations that you can do on a Fabric network. I will just briefly mention the policy and organization and artifacts that Minifabric allow you to do. Endorsement policy, once you have the channel created, you probably want to change something about who can endorse, how many endorsements necessary for a transaction to be considered valid. Also, when you're trying to expand your Fabric network, how do you add a new organization, right? That's how you expand Fabric network. Adding a new organization actually also involves a lot of steps, but Minifabric actually make that a lot easier. And Minifabric also create artifacts. For example, when you develop your application, most likely you have your own chaincode, and then you will write some Go program or other program, Python, deal with those chaincodes to produce transactions. That means you will have to connect with the Fabric network. Minifabric actually produce those connection profiles, allow you to use for different programming client applications. For example, if you use Go, you can use the Go connection profile. If you use Python, it has Python connection profile. The problem is that for why we produce those different connection profiles is because different language SDKs require slightly different connection profiles. But Minifabric create all of them: Java, Go, and Python, and you can choose. Was there a question? Okay, all right. Okay, so a little bit about Minifabric itself. So Minifabric is Hyperledger Lab member. So you can use the URL to get the source code and see how it was basically created and how it's working. And I always welcome the PRs to improve the Fabric, Minifabric. Because this lives on GitHub, we actually created this automated test process. And when you submit a PR or when the PR get merged, we run a lot of automated tests. You can see on the left-hand side, we test different versions of Fabric. Start from 1.4 all the way to the latest 2.4, 1.4.4 all the way to 2.4. We purposely run this to make sure that Minifabric not only support the latest Fabric release, but also the older versions. And I understand a lot of people still use the older version of Fabric to do things. And if you hit the Minifabric GitHub repository, and you will see this very short README document, which tells you, what steps you need to take and how you actually quickly start up your Fabric network. From this instruction, you can see there's only one, basically bash command. You have to copy and then paste to your command line. That's how you get Minifabric, which by itself actually is a really short script. I think less than 30 lines for bash code. If you run this on Windows, it's batch code actually. I think it's a little bit longer, but it's not outrageous. Then you can simply do a Minifabric up, do Minifabric down to stand up Fabric, and also, just bring down the Fabric network. That's a very high level of Minifabric. So now, where can you run Minifabric? Pretty much all the possible environment. We support Mac, we support Linux, different flavors. Linux all work, and Windows, as I mentioned. All you have to have is the relatively new Docker environment, 18.03 or newer. This doesn't mean that if you have an older Docker environment, it won't run. It just means that we never tested on the older Docker environment. It may still run. But I mean, if you have a Docker environment, it will be enough. And we recently added Kubernetes support. You can very easily deploy Fabric network onto Kubernetes. This is the huge, big feature for Minifabric. For a long time, we only supported Docker environment, but now you can do this against Microsoft Azure and GKE Kubernetes. And normally when I run this, I basically just use VirtualBox to create a small Linux Ubuntu system on my Mac. Then I run Minifabric actually inside the VirtualBox virtual machine. And I only give like 4 gig of memory to the virtual machine, and it will run just fine. And later on, when we do the actual live demo, we're going to use the system like this. If you have any question, please stop me, and we can have an interaction and some discussion.
We've got a couple of questions on the chat.
Okay.
So the first question is, does it support JavaScript/TypeScript for chain code creation?
Okay, my understanding is not. This is not about Minifabric. It's more about what language can you use to develop your chain code. Mm-hmm. So this is really a Fabric question. My understanding is that you can use Go, Python, Java. Other than these 3, I do not know if the TypeScript or JavaScript supported as a chain code.
And the second question is, does it work on existing Fabric networks?
Okay. Yes, if you have Fabric network already running, right, you can create, let's say you can stand up a new organization, right? Or, I mean, existing, if you have all the certificates, everything, then you can stand up a peer, then you can join the peer. If it's a new organization, you will have to join the new organization into the existing Fabric network. Then you can join the peer into one of the app channels. Yes, you can. Okay, other questions?
Not for the moment, that's it.
Okay, great. So here I list the again, more detailed capabilities of Minifabric. As I said, you can easily stand up Fabric network based on the default Spec, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, or you can use your own Spec, right? So this is highly customizable, whether you want to create like a 3 organization Fabric network or 5, it's totally up to you. You can have your own Spec. once you're done with your work, say, hey, okay, I developed my chaincode, tested my chaincode, everything works fine. I'm done with it. I want to free up my environment. And you can simply tear down the deployed Fabric network, just one command. Create channel, join peers to channels, install chaincode, chaincode approval, instantiate, commit, or upgrade. Invocation, use different parameters. So nothing here in the Minifabric is hard-coded towards particular, model of Fabric network or a particular chaincode. So any chaincode you have, as long as a valid chaincode, it should work on. Minifabric created Fabric network. Okay, and you can also do the query blocks and transactions. And as I mentioned, you can do with your channel configuration, query what currently the configuration is, and assigning the update to the channel configuration, all sort of things. And support private data collection and add new organizations. You can also use Minifabric to set up multiple servers. Let's say you have 5 physical machines. You can use Minifabric actually set up different or same organization on those 5 servers, and you can join them together to make a bigger Fabric network. Minifabric also create those connection profiles. I mentioned that. Also the wallet that you can use when you're trying to use the wallet to connect to the Fabric network. Minifabric integrated with Explorer and Caliper, which allow you to inspect what is going on, what is happening when your chaincode actually is running. Show you the channels, the nodes in your network, and also the transactions if you use Explorer. Caliper actually you can use to run some performance test. Later on, actually, we will show you how to use Explorer to inspect the transactions happening on your Fabric network. One of the problems developers always face is that, okay, I don't really care about developing Fabric itself, but I try to develop some applications based on Fabric. So they normally don't know how the application gets developed and how to connect to the Fabric. So Minifabric actually provided sort of like a template and some sample code against a particular chaincode. If you install that chaincode, then you can run the applications without any modification. I hear a lot of echoes.
Sorry, I'll mute that person.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So you can run the applications. Actually, I will show you how the applications look like, where you can put your application. So this is really to, quickly get you started with application. So you can add new functions, add new files, all that kind of stuff. This get you started very quickly. All right, that's the highlight of the Minifabric capability. Now we're going to move on to talk about how you can set up a Fabric network. By default, as I said, Minifabric comes with a default spec file, which is a very simple YAML file, and include basically 2 CAs, CA node with different organization. You can see that one is org0, one is org1, and 4 peer nodes. You can see it's easy to hear, and 3 older nodes. By the way, Minifabric only set up orders use the etcd, the raft. It does not support use the what is the other?
Solo
I forgot.
Solo or Kafka?
Kafka.
Yeah.
Kafka. Okay. Minifabric does not support Kafka, which a lot of people are already abandoned. So now talk about this network spec file. As I mentioned, this is a YAML file. It uses a very simple, like a DNS sort of naming convention. The first part would be the name for the node. Here, for example, this CA node name will be CA1, and the rest will be considered as the organization name. So in this case, the organization name would be org0.example.com. The second one will be org1.example.com. Okay, this doesn't mean that these two organizations relate to each other. Basically, they just share some of the name, but they're considered different organizations. Okay. Now, I think, was it David? I mentioned that the solo, people ask me if I want to do a solo installation, how do I do that? Use Minifabric. Actually, it will be extremely easy. If you want to do a do like a solo here, it's like basically one older node, right? The solo really means that you have just one older node. So here you have one older node and two peers. So this is, you can customize, you can give Minifabric a customized spec file, and Minifabric will stand up the fabric like this for you. Okay, now if you just say, hey, I don't care about other peer nodes, I just wanted to create older system, here's how you do it, right? In this example, you have 5 older nodes. Basically, in this spec file, you say orders and 5 nodes, right? If you just want to set up one organization with just 3 peer nodes, so here's how you do that, right? So this is very, very flexible. You can customize any way you want, and nothing is hard-coded here. And I just made up those names. Ocean tree, I don't know if there is such thing. Work chain, okay. All right, so we earlier said that we want to make the developer life a little easier, and here's actually how we can really accomplish that. You can use just one command here, say Minifab down to break down the fabric, right? All the dark containers will be bring down, right? So if you want to clean up everything, include the certificates created, all the channels, all that kind of stuff, and you would do just say, hey, Minifabric cleanup, right? And if you want to restart your fabric network, you can do restart. Say, okay, I have tried Fabric 2.3, and I want to see if my chain could actually work on Fabric 1.4.8. So very easy to do, just say Minifabric up -I, then you give version number 1.4.8. When you do this, the fabric network Minifabric startup will be just using Fabric 1.4.8. So we actually support every point release since 1.4.4, right? So even we didn't test every release, as I showed you earlier, but if it's 1.4.7, which will also work. If you wonder what other command that Minifabric provide, you can certainly just say minifab-h or simply just say minifab. It will show you a list of all the command it supports. If you want to create a channel, simply give a name like this, and the channel will be created. If you want to join the peers that currently on this network, you simply say Minifab join, right? So you can do a channel query. This actually will return you the channel configuration, and you can see the endorsement policy of your channel, or who actually, which peer or organization is part of your channel, right? then if you make configuration changes to the channel, then you will have to sign the changes. So this is how you can do that, right? And eventually you'll say, hey, channel update, then the channel update command will do that for you. Okay, so chain code. A lot of people, when they start work with Fabric, in many cases, they're just trying to develop some applications. So most likely you will have to create your chain code, then write some client application to deal with the chain code. So here actually shows you the structure and how when you develop your chain code, where you're supposed to put the chain code, then you can install the chain code onto the Fabric network. So this is very clearly documented in Minifabric document. And you simply just need to write your build program and put in this, let's say slash, and give a name, I create a folder and give a name. Then if it's a Go chain code, you put in the Go directory. If it's a Node or it's a Java, then you can put in a different, basically different directory, then it will actually install that for you, okay? So let's say you have those files in this directory. Now, to install that chain code, you just need to do Minifab install and give a name. That name must be this direct name here, right? Then you can do approve, then commit. If it requires initialization, you're supposed to do the initialization as well. Then you can do discovery, then you can invoke that chain code you just installed, okay? Once you invoke that chain code, that means you actually already submit the transaction, and you should be able to do the block query, then it shows what actually happened on your ledger. Questions here? All right.
We actually have several questions building up in the chat. One of them is a clarification of an earlier question, which is, and I'm quoting here, transcript is definitely supported by Fabric, but I was wondering if it's anything different with Minifabric.
Nope, no, no. Okay. Well, I mean, if you talk about Node, right? We officially say Node. We normally don't say JavaScript when we talk about the SDKs. So, yep. Yeah, any chain code that you can develop which support by Fabric will just work here.
Question 2, is Minifabric recommended for production or is it a development environment?
The goal of Minifabric is to help you learn and develop. But if you really want to use Minifabric to set up production environment, yes, you can. The problem is that you will have to manually produce those certificates that identify your organization, identify your node. But you really have to know what you're doing, right? Because if it's a production environment, you want the certificate to be a real certificate. You do not want your production node use the self-signed certificates, right? That's really the main issue here. If you produce those required certificates from a CA, and you know where to put those certificates that Minifabric can access, you're fine.
There is one question here that's particularly complex. It's actually regarding an error message. So I won't read the whole thing. Hopefully the last line is sufficient. Is there an S390X version of your recent update?
398. What is
390X? The full question is, when setting up Minifab on Ubuntu server, I'm getting the following warning: status, download newer image for Hyperledger Labs / Minifab latest, etc., etc. Does that ring a bell? If not, we can just forward it to you. We'll forward you the question afterwards.
Yeah, for those questions, we actually have this Fabric Mini Rocket channel. You can certainly post the question there, or you can open the issue against Minifabric, and we can take a look at that.
Fantastic. Yeah, the guy who answered the question actually said thanks already. How about the Fab token lifecycle? Is that supported as well?
I think that's a feature and still in the works. So I don't have a lot of knowledge of that working item. So, but if Minifabric produce a true Fabric network, if a Fabric support Fab token, then Minifabric will support it. Minifabric is really a tool. It's really a tool that gets you started with Fabric, allow you to set up Fabric network. So it does not reduce or improve the functions of Fabric network, right?
Two more questions. Do you use a dedicated certificate authority for the TLS certificates? And does Minifabric bring up a TLS certificate authority?
No, because that involves a lot of steps. So the Minifabric, if you do not provide your own certificates, Minifabric will produce a self-signed certificate. It does not work with, let's say, a particular CA, say, okay, go ahead and issue me, some bunch of certificates. It doesn't do that.
And then the last one for the moment, do you use Fabric CA or Cryptogen tool for generating certificates?
Neither. Minifabric actually use OpenSSL to produce certificates, self-signed certificates.
Yep, that's it for the moment.
Okay, great. Thanks for the questions. Okay, I know a lot of people who deal with Fabric network. Actually, they wanted to do some tests using Minifabric. So here we actually allow you to combine command together. For example, we talk about you can use Minifab, install, approve individually, right? When you want to just install a chaincode or approve the chaincode, right? Here, actually, you can use just one command, Minifab install, approve, commit, initialize, and to accomplish 4 things in one command. So this is particularly useful if you actually doing some automation work. Okay, so you can combine any 2 command available in the right sequence, as I showed you here, to do the work. And as long as the combination of the command actually makes sense, right? If, for example, if you do Minifab initialize, then comment install, then you give a chaincode name, that doesn't make sense, right? Because if you haven't installed chaincode yet, initialize will certainly fail, right? And Minifabric actually, if you do that, it will give you error. Okay. Actually, with that, I want to switch to the demo of live demo to show you actually how you can do this using Minifabric. So I'm going to exit from the PowerPoint. I want to show you, this is the VirtualBox virtual machine that I'm currently running, right? So this is really a small virtual machine running on my MacBook. So I'm gonna use a terminal to connect to this machine. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, I hope you can see my terminal. Okay, so this is the console of my virtual machine. And currently I do not have any Docker container running. So when you look at the Fabric network, and the Fabric network brought up running, actually you will just see a bunch of containers running. Even on Kubernetes environment, there are still pods and containers, right? So what I want to show you here is that I don't have anything running currently. So I just have some of the Docker images, right? You probably already guessed that I have run the Fabric 2.3 and 2.2 earlier. So that's why I have those images. If I don't have this image, when I try to bring up Fabric network, it will still work. It will just automatically download those images for you. So now I will go to this directory and remove. Actually, I think this directory is empty. It's completely empty. So there's nothing actually there. So what I want to do now is to, as I said earlier, just bring up this Fabric network. You can see here, that's what I was talking about. I combined all those basically commands all together to bring up the Fabric network. So if you use Minifab up, not only bring up Fabric network, but also actually create a channel, join the peers to the channel, and do the anchor update, generate profiles, install chaincode, and do approval and commit and initialize, and then do a discovery, right? So actually it does all this all together when you do the Minifab up command. Of course, you can do each step individually, but it will just take a longer time. Okay, so this will take about 4 to 5 minutes to complete. You'll probably ask why it takes that long. It's because we are actually doing a lot of things. For example, here is to generate certificates, then we actually start up network, then we install the chaincode, create channels, all those, especially install chaincode, initialize, all that kind of stuff. It takes some time. All right. So with that, I want to stop a little bit because this will take a little bit of time. I want to stop here, see if we still have some questions.
2 new questions. Does Minifab support the implementation of the external chaincode builder?
No, it does not. No, I was trying to add that to Minifabric, but I haven't got that implemented yet.
Second question, does Minifabric support the upgrading of a new Fabric version to peers?
No, it doesn't. So if you set up, let's say 1.4.8, if you want to do a new one, then you have to clear up the old one and set up a new one. And we don't have upgrade, say, hey, from one Fabric version to the other. But I don't think it would be difficult to add that.
That's it.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay, while we're waiting here, I want to talk about how you actually start up the Explorer or run an application. So let's talk about that. Okay, I mentioned earlier, if you want to see what's happening on your Fabric network, you can certainly use Explorer to inspect transactions in channels, all that kind of stuff on your Fabric network. To do that, it's very easy. The only thing you have to do is run this command called Minifab Explorer up, which will actually integrate the Explorer with the Fabric network you just set up. Then this command will give you a link and allow you to hit that link from a browser. You will be able to see things happening. If you don't want the Explorer running, then you just need to say Explorer down. Then the Explorer integration will be removed. Okay. Then you also can run application. Simply say Minifab run app. Then the application that you put in the right place, like I showed here, it should be in the vars app directory with your program. And then you simply run this command. Then the things that you put in your application will start run, right? So later on, actually, we will give you, we'll show that example. Okay, here the network actually is already started. You can see this Minifabric going through a lot of things, right? It tells you what it has done, and also show you the Fabric network stats. Say, hey, those nodes, remember those nodes that we're talking about, and all okay. This just show the peer and older nodes. It doesn't show the CE nodes. And it's create a channel, join, do the anchor update, all that kind of stuff. Okay, and tell you how long it took for the whole thing to be complete. Right. Of course, you can do Minifab stats. It will show you like the result, like I showed you earlier. Okay, so everything is up running. If I do a Docker PS, oof, you will see a lot of things going on, right? Before I run Minifabric up and there wasn't any containers running. Now you can see that you have the chaincode container also running, right? This container image needs to be created when you install chaincode, then has to start containers. So that's why it took longer time. All right. So because we already actually installed a chaincode, like I said, the chaincode is called simple, and the version it uses is 1.0. Why it does that is because the spec file or the default, I should do this Minifab stats. Because Minifabric has all the default. Here says if you want to install the chaincode, so the chaincode name is simple, and the version is 1.0, right? That's how it knows, what chaincode to install, the version to use, right? When they initialize the chaincode, they use this default, right? Later on, I will show you if you install different chaincode, then you can specify different initialization parameters. Okay. So since we have this chaincode already installed, initialized, we probably can invoke a transaction. Invoke. This invoke is a command. Tell Minifabric to try to do a transaction. This invoke actually is a method from the chain code itself. Give me a second. I don't remember the command here. Invoke. This is the chain code. Okay, this chain code, it was the very simple chain code. I think this is just to move the asset from one to the other. Okay. So this actually will produce something on the ledger. Okay, so it's completed successfully. Now I want to see what actually happened on the ledger. I would do a block query. So block query actually shows you the last transaction. Now it produced this file. This file is a very typical blockchain block. It shows all the hash, the height, the number of the block, which is 7. And of course, it has to show the previous block hash, and they include all the transactions that happened on the on the Fabric network. So here you can see that we use the method called invoke. Then we moved, 4 units from A to B. All right. I believe you can also do a query. I think query is another method on the on this simple chain code, if I remember right. Okay, so actually this now shows the payload A's balance to be 196. If we do another one, let's say I give 3. If I query again, then A's balance should change. It was 96, 196, now it's 193. Okay, so if I do B, and then the balance should be different, if we did B again before. All right. Okay, so any questions here?
Yep, 3 fresh questions. Number 1, if you define multiple peers in Spec, which one will be the anchor peer, and is that configurable?
No. Minifabric will make all the peers anchor peer. This is really just for the performance.
Number 2, how does Minifabric deploy the network on Kubernetes? Does it support the use of any Kubernetes package manager?
Package manager like what?
If you could
like
update
Helm.
that question. Oh, thank
Like
you.
Helm. Yeah.
Like a kind, you mean?
Helm.
Oh, Helm. Oh, okay. No. We actually do not use Helm to deploy a Fabric network onto Kubernetes. In the beginning of this presentation, I show a link. If you use that link, go to the repository, you can see that we actually use simply the Ansible package to produce Kubernetes deployment files to set up Fabric network on Kubernetes. We produce services. We use actually ingress controller to expose NGX ingress controller to expose your endpoint. We produce certificates. We use config map. We use secrets, all that kind of stuff. So we do not use Helm to deploy. We use Ansible and produce the deployment files.
And then
I'm not really sure that answered the question.
Sorry, lastly for the moment, a question that I imagine is quite popular. Am I able to use Minifabric to build my minimum viable product?
I would say yes. Minifabric, as I said earlier as well, Minifabric stand up Fabric network for you, which does not improve or reduce capability of Fabric network, right? Let's say I stand up my Fabric network using Minifabric. I developed my chain code. I tested my chain code on this network. I should be able to move this chain code onto any production Fabric network, and I expect it will fully work, right? There's nothing here that you can accomplish, but you cannot accomplish with a Fabric network. So I hope that answered that question.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So how are we doing in terms of time? Oh, we only have 5 minutes left. Okay. So let's do. Okay. Let me bring up Explorer. Explore. If I can spell. All right. Okay, this will actually start up Explorer, and it tells you where you can hit that. So I'm going to bring my browser here. Okay, this also gives you what the default username and password is, in case you forget. Explorer admin, Explorer password. PW. Explorer admin PW. Okay. All right. So you can see that this dashboard will show you the composition of this Fabric network. As I said, they use the default spec, and we have 4 peers in the 3 older node. And say, hey, we're at the block number 11. Here it says 12 because we started with block 0. And then we have transactions. We have 4 nodes. It doesn't count the older nodes. and we only have one chain code. All right. So if you click on transactions, it will show you all the transactions. If you dig through those transactions, you probably will see that the transaction we just did from command line. Right. The next one is, or do actually install proof, commit, initialize. Name should be samples CC. Sample CC is also a chain code that come with Minifabric. If you look at the repository, actually, we have few chain code come with Minifabric, which give you like, how we Minifabric use those, how it was developed, all that kind of things. Then I use this command to initialize this thing. And then we should be able to see transactions happening here. And if we update, if everything goes well, then we should see the chain code now change to 2. And then we should be able to run the app run command, which actually I think produce a lot more transactions. But here it will again, every time you install chain code, it will have to build the Docker container image, and it will take some time. So we're at the last minute of this talk. I wonder if we can extend this a little bit, David?
Yeah, we have the room. If you want to go longer, you can.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to show after this sample CC installed, approved, then I will run the app run, and then we should be able to see transactions happening from the Explorer. Okay, so now this chain code actually installed. Now, see, this Explorer already showed that we have 2 chain code. If I click here, now we have a simple one. This actually get installed when we do the Minifab up. Now I just install sample CC here, right? So the reason why I want to install this sample CC is because we have an application here. This is a very simple application. And they use the wallet and they connect the Fabric network, and then they do some transactions, right? So this is the application. And if you want to know how to start with the application, this is the example you can use, or you just go ahead and make changes to this application, then run the command here from the working directory. It's called Minifab app run. It will just run this particular application. Hopefully, we can see some transactions happening here. Did you guys notice that the blocks changed and the number of transactions changed? It's all because we're running that application that produces transactions. So if I see here, it says, you can see here, right? Sample CC, and it's still on my channel. That's a default channel, right? All kinds of stuff, right? I didn't invoke the transaction from command line. It's all from the application. All right. I think that's everything I would like to talk about in this session. And I want to hand back to David. if we don't have any questions.
We don't have questions. We just have multiple people saying thank you. Great presentation, wonderful work, etc., etc. So thank you so much for squeezing everything in.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I think with that, we are done. I've put the link in the chat to Tong's tutorials on YouTube, which will give you an extra chance to look over some of the fundamental points that were covered today. But this precise presentation is also going to be archived, and in a matter of minutes, maybe it will be up for you to look at either on YouTube, or we'll actually embed it on the special interest group page. In the meanwhile, as I said, I've put my email up there if you guys want to get in touch, either with me personally or just get hold of the interest group and just send it to the general email there, stick it in the general chat, general channel. And don't be shy about giving us new ideas for presentations and for projects. They're all very much appreciated. So I think with that, thank you, Tong, and we will see everybody very soon.
Thank you, sir.
Bye for now.
Bye.